The empire is what changed people to the floor and make them think they were powerless to resist. But then you have people in the background creating the illusion, creating the reality itself with these puppets that are reflected off the fire onto the wall. These are the game masters. These are the financiers. And then when people look at this wall, they create a reality of it. They play a game of like giving names to the shadows, of pretending there's stories behind these shadows. And this is the economy, the global economy. And then you have to explain, okay, how does this world work? Well, you can't see the people behind you, so you say, well, it comes from God or a spiritual force, okay? And that's the rules-based international order. And then you're like, okay, well, you need to indoctrinate children into the system. So you have teachers, you have propagandists, journalists, you have priests who teach children to believe the system the moment they're born themselves. If they turn around, they see who's really pulling the strings, but they can't turn around. So they can only stare in front. All right, so there's a bank. And people think that bank is a place where they take the deposit money and they use it to fuel the economy by lending to entrepreneurs, right? And that's what drives the economy. Okay, but here's the problem though. You're the bank. Depositors put $1 million into the bank, okay? You take that $1 million and then you give it to entrepreneurs to open a restaurant, okay? Right? Question is, how much money is in the bank now? The answer is not zero, which is what the math says, right? The answer is actually $2 million. And you're like, okay, that's kind of stupid. Where do we get this system? Okay, it comes from early banking. It comes from Venice, basically, okay? So back then, they didn't have money. They had gold, right? So you put $1 million of gold into the bank. Now, the bank's going to lend this $1 million primarily to merchants who engage in trade, okay? But the problem is that you don't want to physically give people the gold because it's dangerous. It doesn't really do anything. So what you do is you give them a receipt for the gold, right? So you say $1 million receipt for the gold. Does that make sense? In your ledger, you have $2 million because that gold didn't go away, but then you also create a receipt for that gold, which becomes currency in itself, as long as people are willing to believe that this contract has value. And that's how money works.